Hello and welcome to the Hearts of Iron segment of my Paradox Interactive Historical Playthrough Mega Series. I'm Admiral Jedi, and we are going to finish up our series on Portugal to Brazil. So we're going to take a 1936 start to just do some history. Brazil did not see a ton of combat in World War II. So this, let me wait for the blah to all be done. Okay, this first video is going to see no combat whatsoever. It's going to be some economy, some setup, some history. And just real quick, if you've never seen one of my videos before, this is, I give a couple of disclaimers. Disclaimer number one, this is not a tutorial. This is a historical playthrough where I pick a country and play that country as historically accurately as I possibly can using in-game mechanics. And disclaimer number two is I am not a Brazilian, I'm an American. And I've been reading and studying a lot on Portuguese and Brazilian history, but still there might be some topics or pronunciations or things that I completely screw up. So I hope that you will forgive me if I do mess that up, and go ahead and correct me in the comments below. So, as we get started, we do see that the capital is Rio de Janeiro. It is not Brasilia yet. It is 1936, and Brazil is under the political leadership of Getulio Vargas, and these groups are fairly accurate. There is a provisional government because Getulio Vargas took over by way of a coup in 1930, a coup where he was assisted by the military, you see that here, and also a group of the integralistas who were fascists. And so this is where we start from. Now, we see here there's an election coming in 1938, but that is not going to happen because ultimately in 1937, Getulio Vargas suspended elections and essentially became a dictator during what was called Estado Novo. So we're going to go through that. Obviously, I've got to make some things happen to have that happen first. As a first piece here, what we're going to do is pass this Tribunal de Segurança Nacional. And really, it was kind of like a, I don't want to say secret police, but it was like a spy on our people internal kind of a thing. Because there had just been a recent communist uprising. Here it is, PCB, Partido Comunista Brasileiro, that was put down. And so there was a lot of sentiment that communists are everywhere, and so we need to sort of find them and all that sort of thing. So let me go through a few sort of playthrough alterations that I'm going to do, some kind of constraints that I'm going to put on myself. So Brazil at this time was coming out, or really desperately trying to come out, of being an agricultural, export-oriented economy. So we see here, this is called Aftermath of the Coffee Crisis. We're not doing that when we're going to do it. We're not doing it right now. Basically, during 1929, the Great Depression, Brazil had all their economic eggs in one coffee basket, and it really crashed and caused the country a tremendous amount of difficulty. Now, I think we have something here that represents that. Where's it at? Okay, undiversified economy. That's definitely us. So there you go. This state of emergency is referring to what I talked about earlier, where Getulio Vargas's party kind of declared a state of emergency. That's why, after the communist uprising that was put down, that's why it's a provisional government. It's like, hey, we don't need to have elections quite yet. We're going to go ahead and, protect you first. So we're going to try and unbury ourselves, but this whole video is going to be a lot about Brazil's economy. And one of the things I'm going to not do, I say this now, but I might change my mind later, is I'm not going to build any military factories. What? Which is weird. So Brazil constantly, as war tension ratcheted up, which we're not there yet, was worried, alongside the United States being worried, that the northeast of Brazil would be invaded by Axis forces. We're going to get there. Because when you stay focused on Brazil like this, right, you're like, the northeast of Brazil, huh? I mean, okay, well, but then when you just edge over here a little bit, ooh, it's like, hey, look, Africa. Well, actually, the Axis had huge military victories in this area, so it's actually not that far. Sweep on over here. So I guess I can understand why they were kind of worried about that. And so the lack of, I don't know what I did there. I pressed a button. Oh, okay. There we go. That's a little better. The lack of military preparedness by way of lack of military supplies was a huge deal for Brazil during this time, and made a huge part of all their decisions and ultimately their interactions with the United States of America, which we're going to get to. But for now, one of my primary constraints is going to be no military factories. Already talked about that. We are not going to build any of these suckers. But build civilian factories, because something else that Getulio Vargas put a huge priority on was, not here, the rebuilding of the economy. So we're going to go down through this quite a bit. What's this? Modifies undiversified economy. Stimulate the economy. We're going to, near the end of this video, get to this. Companhia, there's no way I'm going to pronounce that properly. Siderúrgica Nacional. Somebody yell at me about my pronunciation. This big steel mill is going to show up around 1940. The very first steel mill in all of South America. We're going to talk about that a little bit more later. We are going to promote resource extraction. So I'm going to be focused a lot on economic growth. But for now, those are going to be our constraints. We're not going to fight this video. We're going to fight the next video. And so let's get started. Now, as I'm getting started, I haven't even pressed the play button yet. I'm going to put together a couple of armies, and specifically, we're going to put in place a few leaders. This guy, Eurico Gaspar Dutra, who I believe was supposed to be the head of the I think he was like the war minister. And there's a problem here where I cannot appoint him as that. Now I can't right now because I just don't have any political power. But Chief of Army. Yeah, now it would be nice if I could have put Dutra in as the chief. I thought he was in here. There he is, right there. Yeah, as Minister of Defense. That is legit. It should be the case. And the problem is, you can't do that unless you chase down this ministerial posts for generals focus, which is over here somewhere, and is down the ahistorical branch. Can I even find it? There it is, right there. Way down the, like, hardcore democracy branch, which is not what happened. So that kind of sucks. So I'm going to put him as a general, which is not historically accurate. So I'm trading one historically inaccurate thing for another. And the other person that I want to work with is Goish Monteiro. I'm going to make him a general as well. There he is. Here. Okay. I think he was a general. He was the leader of the army, if I recall. And I'd love to be able to put him as, here, chief of the army, but he's not available either, and I suspect it's for the same reason that, we've got to be able to promote him up or something like that. And they're not going to see enough combat to be able to do that. So that kind of sucks to get that started right away. Let me go ahead and put up my source material. In addition to Grok and Google and Wikipedia and all that sort of thing, I have been reading Brazil, The Fortunes of War, World War II and the Making of Modern Brazil by Neill Lochery. I'm going to put that up there. And there's a link for you in the comment in the description below. Okay, so these two people, it turns out, were much more in favor of the Axis than they were of the Allies, but we haven't even begun wartime yet, so we're going to get there. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward past a few focuses and research and bring you back in and talk about a couple of those things. All right, so this event comes up, Cangaço. The Cangaço menace, the northeast of Brazil, this area here, was plagued by these bandits called Cangaço. So we are going to deal with them. There is a focus that we need to deal with the Cangaço. And then that'll open up these decisions for me to make. Where are my decisions? Because what happens is they're constantly planning some sort of disruptive thing, and only until I disrupt all of them will their nefarious banditry cease. And so this was not successfully done until 1938. And so I'm going to actually let one of these happen, just so that I don't go too far with it and get rid of them too quickly. And so we'll come back and see when they mess us up a little bit, and then also when we finally subdue the dastardly Cangaço bandits. With enough political power to appoint a new advisor, going to appoint one of the most important and well-known Brazilian advisors, Osvaldo Aranha, who was very close with Getulio Vargas. They both were considered gauchos, came from the south, Rio Grande do Sul. And together with Vargas's daughter, Alzira, Alzira and Osvaldo Aranha were kind of known as both the right and left eye of Getulio Vargas. They were his, in America, we would say his right-hand man, right? Or his right-hand woman, as the case may be, and his daughter. And also, Aranha's was leaned very heavily in favor of working together with the United States and with the Allies. Whereas these two guys here, Dutra and Goix-Monteiro, were much more in favor of working with Axis and Germany. We're not quite there yet because war hasn't broke out. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. But I thought that was a good time to bring you back in, show you a little bit of what we've done. We've climbed down here. We're going to deal with Cangaço now. I'm not going to quite do these. I'm working on this now, which will increase our growth. I might do stimulate the economy, which is definitely something that Vargas was doing. And then we are going to really creep down towards Estado Novo by 1937. Let's get there. I'm going to do something a little bit unorthodox here. This Cangaço planning operation is going to tick down over the next couple days, and I'm going to allow it, even though I have the command power to stop it. It lets me sort of simulate a little bit. I mentioned in the beginning that when Vargas first came into power, there was a communist uprising, one that was put down successfully. And let's get back to that decision. Okay, so 5 more days. So we're going to have this Cangaço uprising kind of simulate that. It was not around this time. It was done in, I think, 1935. It was put down. So we're going to have this happen. Should happen right now. Ta-da! Such banditry can no longer be tolerated. And it gives us a stability hit, which is, okay. But I'm going to use that to talk about the Cohen Plan, which we're going to kick off here somewhat soon. I'm going to try and get as close to, let's see, this is 70 days, and this is 35 days. So we're going to get into August and then try and kick that off as quickly as possible. Ooh, military traits. I'll go ahead and skip that for now because Brazil's development of everything was slow, kind of stunted. I'm a little off topic. What the Cohen Plan was, we'll bump it to August here. What the Cohen Plan was a made-up, I don't know what you would call it, propaganda piece, kind of. Like, it was a fabricated plot that this communist, Bela Cohen, I think, which was supposed to give hints of, like, Bela Kun, a Hungarian communist leader, and so they got to do two things at the same time. They got, with the Cohen Plan, they got to blame Jews and communists all at the same time. This was complete fabrication. I didn't let the time go. Okay. We'll go ahead and do this right now since we're talking about it. And so what was done here with the Cohen Plan was they brought up the specter of communism again, and it's like, hey, we need to do something about this. We're not safe. Your children aren't safe. It's all kinds of fabricated. The Jewish communists are coming for you. Complete fabrication. There was no truth to it whatsoever. But it did clear the way for Vargas to basically declare a dictatorship, to basically take over all of government. And that is what is known as Estado Novo. And so it was, we are going to take over everything, ban political parties for your safety. That was what they said, allegedly. That's what they always say, right? Now, Vargas is kind of an interesting, I'm going to let all this stuff go. Vargas is kind of an interesting character for me in the reading that I've done, because he did a lot beneficially for the country of Brazil. So again, I'm okay, everyone calm down. So I don't have the Brazilian perspective on this. If I just said something horrible, please forgive me. But he definitely did it in an autocratic way. He silenced his critics. He silenced opposing voices. There were no elections. I mean, it was a straight dictatorship. It was a totalitarian dictatorship. But he then focused quite a bit on improving the economy of Brazil, bringing Brazil out of its, I think we still have this, right? Out of its undiversified economy into a more modern economy. So, definitely totalitarianism is not the way to go. But his focus was very much, and I've done a lot of this, some of this, well, I shouldn't say a lot of it, some of it already. He stimulated the economy, he undiversified the economy. But here's a good thing. There was a lot of radio propaganda that went on underneath Vargas and Estado Novo. Excuse me. And we're going to do that. The DASP, I'm pretty sure this is I'm thinking of the DIP. There it is, right there. DIP, the Departamento de Propaganda. So we're going to get there. In the meantime, this focus will be done shortly here, and it will say you've got to enact. What is it? You've got to enact. Must be completed. Unlocks execute Cohen Plan. Oh, the mission. Okay, all right. Is there a mission here? I think I've done this before. I think it's under decisions. Execute the Cohen Plan. Okay, one of the following must be true. Has completed focus Estado Novo, which we're going to do. Gets the event Brazilian military. Oh, that's if it's not completed. So within 100 days, we have to pass Estado Novo, which is fine. Let's keep going. I'll fast forward to that. I thought I had this timed perfectly to happen on November 10th, which is the day that Estado Novo was formally announced. But I screwed it up. So Brazil enters a state of emergency, and so this is really exactly what happened, where it's like, the Cohen Plan, the Jewish communists are coming to get us. We need to take over. Getulio Vargas announced over the radio that the nation was entering into yet another. Now, that's what's kind of interesting to me, is a real communist threat emerged in 1935, was defeated. And then in 1937, they're like, no, the communists are still here. Like, we need to... Okay, I was surprised that people might not have been like, you sure, bro? Like, it doesn't seem like it. According to the president's documents are found that indicated the communists were in the late stages of a plan to overthrow the government. And so we have to declare, martial law, basically, and full on. And so here we go. No elections. Right? Estado Novo is in place now, and Getulio Vargas is the authoritarian leader of Brazil going forward, and for the rest of the game. So that is what happened. Now, what we're going to do focus-wise from here is we are going to establish the Polaka, is it Polaka? A new constitution, right, which was actually taken from Poland, or a lot of it was taken from Poland, and then we're going to ban political parties. So I'm going to do those two things next, and push further down into this. And what we're going to do from here, so I'm just going to do all those things off camera, and then we are going to get ourselves into 1938, where we should hopefully be able to see the last of Cangaço. So we'll be doing that. And then we're going to get into the war. Anyway, that's coming. Fast forward. With political parties banned, and that did happen when Estado Novo came into being, the Integralistas, the AIB, the fascist party, they had helped Getulio Vargas. So fascists had an agenda, God, fatherland, and family, Deus, patria, familia. And they believed in integralism, which was a form of national unity, where every single level of society worked not for their own personal benefit, but for the common good of the state. But when Vargas banned all political parties, AIB, who had supported him, saw this as a massive betrayal. And in fact, there was a coup where they invaded the, is it Canabara Palace, where he did all of his work. And it was his daughter, Alzira, who said, I think there's something going on here. And so they were shooting, and he had guns, and there, all sorts of things. But the coup failed, actually, for lack of organization. And so that is really how, it was sort of in the beginning. And so I just thought that was sort of an interesting kind of premise there. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to try to have the end of the Cangaço here. Let's fast forward to that. I think I could time this pretty well to be historically accurate. I thought I was going to time this perfectly. 1 day, 0 day, 6 day. I thought I was going to be able to defeat the Cangaço before they did their next mission. But that didn't happen. Okay, but more importantly and more historically accurately, in just 2 days, just one more day, on the 28th, Lampião killed in shootouts. So this was the decisive blow struck against the Cangaço, the bandits in the northeast. And Lampião was defeated. And so there you go. Cangaços are completely out of the picture. In 1938, something that Brazil did was they began buying military goods from Germany. I don't really have the capability to do that, I think. In fact, if I look at the international market for who's selling equipment, I don't even think Germany's on here. So they're not selling. The United States is selling, and I'm gonna be buying from the United States. Oh, well, see, here's Germany. Oh, the German Reich. Okay, there we go. Okay. So we can see, all right, what's being sold by the German Reich. So now one of the things that Germany did, I think I shared this already, but let's share it again. One of the things that Germany did is they allowed Brazil to pay not in money, but with export goods. And remember, Brazil is a heavily agricultural export. So let's go ahead and see if we can start buying from Germany. We'll buy planes, right? Now, what is this? A delivery rate? I don't want to just buy one time. Okay. Will they do this? Sure. Alright. So, we're going to go ahead and start buying airlines. Now, that's not historically accurate. It was primarily infantry equipment, weapons and such. But in order to simulate that, I will go ahead and buy planes from them. No problem. In addition to the purchases that I just made, direct purchases, I will add this focus. Not super historic. Well, no, that's not true. Brazil did purchase aircraft in the United States, but I'm going to add this focus because of Brazil purchasing so much military equipment. They were not able to make a lot of their own. That's gonna be sort of the big issue for the rest of this video. Is Brazil was not really able to produce a lot of high-quality military equipment that they needed to keep up with training a modern-day military, so they bought it all, or at least tried to buy it all. And so, yeah, obviously the German Reich is going to be the bad guys here, but the war hasn't been declared yet, and so that created a political conundrum, which I'm going to go through a little bit of that. But we're going to keep purchasing from Germany, which did happen for quite a while. And then we'll talk about it and get this video wrapped up. Here we are in, of course, a key time. Ooh, big map. Where Germany has declared war on Poland. Poland being an ally of the United Kingdom and France. They have come to Poland's aid, and World War II has begun, 1939. So this is a critical time. This video has gone on for a bit longer than I expected it to. So we're going to wrap up here pretty quickly, do a little bit of narration on this first. And as I've mentioned already, Brazil was not an ally of Germany, but a trading partner for Germany. So Brazil begins to play the great powers off each other at this point. They have a trading relationship that they maintain still. Am I still improving relations? I'm not improving relations. Let's go ahead and improve relations. Okay. Yes, so they had a trading relationship with the Reich, and the Reich, as I've already mentioned, was selling them military equipment in exchange for, agricultural products. But at this point, the United States and Great Britain are really leaning on Brazil to stop doing that. Specifically, as I've already mentioned as well, because they value the ability of the northeastern section here of Brazil to possibly help them support military efforts against the Axis. And so this became a huge, huge political thing for Brazil, where Brazil was being told you could be invaded here, Germany could come and invade here, you know, you're weak here. We can help you, the United States. And the Great Britain would say, we can help defend you. You just need to let us build bases here. And Brazil would then turn around and say, they would say, okay, we're our own sovereign nation. Brazil was constantly worried about becoming a puppet of the United States. So Brazil would basically say, hey, look, we're totally capable of defending ourselves. Our problem is this, well, it's not anymore. I was going to say this massive logistics. Okay, is that what? Here we go. Production. Yeah. Our problem is this massive missing... they were missing military equipment. So they're like, you supply us with the military equipment, we can defend ourselves. What Brazil was majorly worried about this time is an strong Axis-leaning country like Argentina, who is a traditional rival of Brazil's, would invade them with Axis support. And so they wanted military equipment to not only fend that off, but, well, also to defend themselves here in the Northeast. And so the United States would say, yeah, sure, we got military equipment, but, you know, we need ours. Now, again, the United States has not even joined the war at this point, okay? But then Brazil would say, well, Germany, you know, they're selling us the guns. They're not, but, you know, they're selling us the guns, and then the Allies would be, so anyway. So they really played them off each other for quite some time. And, in fact, Brazil was friendly with Germany for quite some time. Even in 1941, President Vargas sent a message of good health to Adolf Hitler, conveying to him, quote, the felicitations of the Brazilian government and people for your personal happiness and the continued prosperity of the German nation. So Brazil was put in a classic, it's time to, you know what, or get off the pot scenario, which dragged on for a couple years. I'm not going to really do that on camera, but I am going to begin this focus here, securing our borders, to reflect that premise that Brazil was very concerned about invasion from Argentina. And what we're going to do is I'm going to let this run its course, and then I think we're going to end this video with the good neighbor policy. So let's fast forward to there. But before we do that, I did just see this ask for military access requests. So gosh, this is going to be rough. But I think for historical accuracy's sake, I must decline this for now. I don't know if that was a good move or not. It probably wasn't a good move. Are they going to get pissed at me for doing that? Different ideology? Well, whatever. Okay. So we will go ahead and allow them to have... Everybody wants military access from France. Sorry. Can't really do that. If Germany asks for military access, I'm going to decline it as well. All right, let's fast forward to good neighbors. Here we are. I can now move towards the good neighbor policy. So this was an invention, if you will, by the United States. We'll go ahead and get it started, and I'll just sort of ramble on here while it goes. And it was the assertion that the United States wanted to work together with all American states to maintain their own sovereignty, I'll go ahead and pause here so don't lose any time on this, to maintain their sovereignty, to treat each other well, to come up with this kind of Council of Americas concept. And one of the primary things that the United States was worried about was that a lack of American unity would push Latin American countries into the arms of the Axis. So that was a primary concern of theirs. And so again, while Brazil was playing the United States was also playing Brazil, trying to get Brazil to supply the war effort, which the United States isn't a part of yet, but Franklin Roosevelt was doing his everything but war approach. I mean, he was supporting the war as much as he could without actually going to war, which of course let's just go ahead and let it come through, because what we'll probably see is Pearl Harbor get bombed and the United States will join the war. So they were sort of playing each other, and overall, Brazil was seeing Vargas, Osvaldo Aranha, where is he at again? He's right there, okay, was seeing that this war and the capability for Brazil to sort of milk the United States for industrial development, which they did quite a bit of, and this we're going to push this further in the next video, where we're going to do the steel mill in 1940 and more resource that Brazil was seeing. We could use this to transform the country, to move us into the modern age. What we need to do is show that we are on the side of the people that we think are going to win. They were heavily leaning, in the end, towards the United States in exchange for capital and investment to help Brazil grow into the modern future. And that is exactly what we're going to do in the next and final video of my Brazil playthrough. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you there.